morning, Linda.
Good morning, Sam. How's it going?
It's going very well, very, very well. So, what are your New Year's resolutions?
I never make resolutions
Yeah, I don't either.
because
Yeah,
it's the first thing that gets broken. So I
yeah, yeah.
I set goals,
Hmm.
and that's different
Yeah,
because, because it's something that I will work on all year.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. Setting goals and targets, and then having an action plan behind them is so much better than trying to come up with what you're going to change in 2026. Um,
right, and the
this is
thing
the.
is as we work towards our goals, we make those changes anyway.
Hmm. Hmm. It's funny. This is uh, December, January, and the beginning of February are the biggest months for gyms and physical fitness companies and people buying equipment and stuff like that. But then by the time the first real bill comes due in mid to late February, everybody stopped going.
Right.
And gym memberships are generally a 2-year commitment.
Although I've
And
been seeing lots and lots where it's month to month and it's hardly anything, but
yeah,
then they make it sound like you have a full blown membership, and I don't think you do. I think you end up only being able to do certain things while you're there. And to me, when they do it that way, they are acknowledging that more than likely you are not going to make and keep the commitment. And I don't
right.
know what that's. I don't know what that's supposed to.
Yeah, I know. I
I don't
understand.
understand.
No, I don't. They make things so crazy and easy, and then knowing that they're selling you a gym membership, and I'm not picking on gym owners or anything like that
Right.
because I have a lot. I actually have some friends who own some facilities here in the area, but they know it. You know, and they try not to. They try to set people up with a plan so that they succeed,
Right.
and so it's just one of those. And like me, I'm not a gym person. I never have been, and there was I think the only place that I really made it work was oh boy, I have to think about it. But it was uh, um, one on one. The whole gym was set up like that,
Yeah.
so they didn't have a whole bunch of equipment, uh, and you went in. There was a personal trainer there. Personal trainer walked you through each piece of equipment and make sure you were doing it right every time you went in.
Nice.
And you
Nice.
I paid for 3 times a week, and I usually went first thing in the morning. That's my best time, and I had the same trainer for like 3 months. But it got to a point. It was a point in my life where the expenses. We were trying to get the family here and things like
Right.
that. So I had to step away from that, and I would do it again. But it was very expensive. It probably wasn't as expensive as if you hired a personal trainer for that much time.
Right.
But the I think 1 or 2 times there was 2 people there, myself and one other person, and the trainer worked with both of us. But it was one of those. The facility was small enough, it's small enough yet big enough, small enough that he could keep an eye on both people and come over and help the one lady that was in there and myself. So it felt very, very personal. Um,
Nice. Yeah.
yeah. But like I said, very spendy.
Yeah. And my preference, I'm not a big gym person. Now when we lived in Omaha, I went to the gym because the winters and the summers here are so extreme that,
Yeah,
if you're gonna
right.
get anything done, you gotta do it inside. Um, but living in Denver, I found that my preference was to walk, or for a time I jogged because that was the exercise of choice of Jeff, and it was one of the few things we could do together.
Right.
And we would just run outside. Running on a treadmill to me is just like being in a hamster wheel.
Yeah, the hamster
But I've
wheel.
also had the three stints with cardiac rehab and
Right.
bike, the treadmill. Those are all good things.
Yeah.
But I found that when it's easiest for me to go work out, which would be the first thing in the morning, it's always so busy because everybody's
Yeah.
trying to go before they go to work.
Yeah.
And I know if I don't do it first thing, I'm not going to do it
Yeah. Me too. Yeah. I
because
know
I'm
that.
not going to, you know, it takes more time to do it in the middle of the day because when I get up in the morning, I'm going to shower,
Yeah.
unless I know I'm going straight to the gym. I'm going to shower, I'm going to get dressed, I'm going to work for a while, and then I'm going to go work out, and then I'm going to have to shower again.
Yep. Yeah.
And the gym is 5 minutes from my house, but the whole process would still probably be 90 minutes to 2 hours. And I
Right.
just
Right.
don't have that during the day to
Yeah. Yeah. The place
throws
I
off
went
my
to, the place I went to was called the Exercise Coach. It just dawned on me what it was, and like I said, but I could get up in the morning, go, and then come back, and he always finished with the stupid bicycle, and the way their bicycle worked is you had to keep the RPMs or something. You had to keep the RPMs and the speed and the certain, so you're concentrating on doing that. But he also set a program because it got harder and harder and harder to,
yes.
to keep that up. And it's like, dude, you're trying to kill me. He said, no. And, but yeah, I always remember that. But yeah, on the resolutions things, it just, they don't work. Um, if you set a target or a goal for doing X amount of business, say you want to, you want to make X amount of money this year in your personal business, in your coaching business, in consulting, whatever it is you do as a either a side hustle or full time business or whatever. If you set a monetary goal, then you can break it down to okay, how many clients does that equate to? Then you can break it down to okay, I charge this much for these programs, and you take an average of whatever your programs are and divide that out and find out how many hours you have to work at your value, whatever the dollar value is, every week. And so that determines how many clients you need in each program and everything else. And you do that type of planning and that type of estimating, it gives you a more realistic idea of what that goal and what that target looks like.
And I
Now you
think
have some,
I think goals are I think we just approach them differently.
yeah,
To me, when somebody's talking about resolutions, it's something they aspire to but are okay with if they don't
yeah,
stick with it.
yeah. Usually the goal or the reason for the New Year's resolution, I want to lose some weight.
Right.
I want to get toned. I want to, you can come up with all the deals. However, there's no real plan. I want to lose some weight. So if I go to the gym every day, I'll lose weight.
Yeah, well, nobody goes to the gym every day.
Right. And so how much weight do you want to lose? What do you want to do? Weight, losing fat and gaining muscle. Muscle weighs more than fat. So you may not
Yeah.
lose any weight. And so people just don't know how to judge it. And we're talking about, that's probably the easiest thing to talk about because it's almost everybody's goal at the beginning of the year is to get into better shape, right?
Yeah.
But there's no real plan behind a New Year's resolution. I've some of them over the years, and if you think about it, drop a comment. Let us know what some of the resolutions you've had in past years that you wrote. This is my New Year's resolution, and within the first couple of weeks it was gone, or it was something silly, whatever. Let us know because I can laugh about some of mine, and so especially until I really got into a place where mindset and working with through the Maxwell team and Paul Martinelli, Andy Hall, especially Dr. Rick, that that changed my whole perspective on resolutions versus goals and targets at the beginning of the year.
Definitely. And, you know, I'm not going to say don't make resolutions, but maybe approach it more like a goal.
Yeah.
You know, um, be more intentional.
Mhm.
Sometimes I feel like the resolutions are either a whim or just off the top of their head, or they're making one because they think they're supposed to.
Right.
Goals are very intentional, and the actions that you take to meet your goal are very intentional.
Right. Right.
And so it's changing the mindset.
Right.
Um,
Right. It is. And so if you back that out, down at the port, we have people who, oh, this is my first cruise. I'm going to do this again. They get off and they're all so happy and everything else. And Rita and I really enjoy being on a cruise. But we talked about it, and our target for 26 is once a quarter. And so now once a quarter, so that's 4 cruises a year. So now we have to say, what's it going to cost? Where are we going to go? What cruise lines are we going to use? Are we going to try and build a loyalty program with one cruise line, or are we just going to go with the flow? And so, with what I do at the port, especially with one cruise line, I get 2 benefit cruises a year. Now, for that, all I pay is port fees and taxes. By the way, if somebody offers you a free cruise, you are always paying port fees and taxes. So don't be surprised when you get that bill, and don't go out of a port like Los Angeles or New York that has very high port fees and taxes. So, so now there are specific steps that we have to take in order to meet that goal. But a lot of people, I've got a really good friend that I work with down there, and his deal is his New Year's resolution, he's already talked about it, is to cruise more. I'm like, bud, do you realize how many cruises you went on last year? So now this year, you're going to have to go on twice as many in order to cruise more. But anyway, he has no plan or no goal, right? Just cruise more. And so New Year's resolutions are generally just that. They're wishes. It's a wish list. It's not a plan there's no plan behind it. There's no real thought process behind it. My wife and I, we try to start the beginning of the year. We don't make any real plans in January. We generally start the year with what I call the 21-day fast, and this year we're going to do that. And our idea of fasting, what I do with it's not necessarily food, it's not necessarily whatever. This year is going to be a little different, but basically, then what it does is gives us a focus. And a fast is you're always denying yourself some sort of pleasure, whether it's eating, whether it's drink, whether it's video games, for example. Most teenagers should probably do a fast from video games. Our grandson should definitely fast from the iPhone games and cartoons and stuff like that. And so, when you do that, now you have to bring your focus around to something else. You can't come home and plop in front of the TV. Say you do a 21-day fast, and you're not going to watch any Netflix or Prime or any of those. So now, if you've been doing that in the evening, what are you going to do? Okay. And that will begin to set the tone for the whole year. So before you make any resolutions, get your goals, get your ideas, what you want to do, especially for your business. Most businesses already have their budgets done for 2026.
Right.
And I loved it when I worked for one company. We would do our budget for the branch. We'd send it to corporate, and they always changed it. Always. So it was so funny. We would say, okay, we did 5 million last year. let's project 4 million for this year. And we laugh because we know they were going to come back at 5.1, 5.2, or whatever increase they were looking for. But if we put that in, if we put 5.1 or 5.2 in, they'd come back at 5.4 or 5.5.
Right.
And so it just got to be. And so, but then here's the problem with that. And most businesses do that. They come back with the budget, and you truly didn't have a lot of input. So now you had to sit down and figure out what they wanted, how you were supposed to do that, and there was never really any game plan. And I would venture to say that a lot of businesses that come back and do the budgets and do things like that, they get married to that plan, to that budget, and they're not willing to adjust, and they don't really make the right plan to hit the goals.
Right there. And that's like any goal. You don't want to be married to the plan. You want to be focused on the outcome.
Yeah.
And what's it going to take to get the outcome?
Yep.
And so
Yeah.
I always think this time of year is great for looking at goals and looking at what we want to do in the coming quarter, because I mean, we should be doing this on a quarterly basis anyway, not just annually, but
Right.
it gives you that chance to refresh, start again, and build on the things that you did this last quarter or this last year that worked, and reconfigure the things that didn't, or remove the things that didn't and replace it with something that's better. It's all a work in progress.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're always a work in progress, and
there's
so
there's a lot of things outside our control.
Right.
That, if we made this plan and it's not working because of a number of things, we need to be able to adjust. We need to be somewhat fluid and flexible.
Right.
Because we can't hold all the markers. We don't get to control all of the things that affect what we do and how we live, and we can only control what's in our realm, and everything else we just have to learn how to adjust to.
Right. So I just did a real quick search, and the top goals, top New Year's resolutions, and you kind of listen, and if you hear these things, and if it strikes a chord with you, I'm not saying that you shouldn't set a target or a goal to do that for 2026. However, what's the plan? What's the idea? Why do you want to do it? You always start with why. Was it Simon Sinek wrote the book? Start with why. But top exercise or get more active, right? And then the next is lose weight and adopt a healthy lifestyle. Okay,
that's pretty wide open.
Yeah. Eat healthier or improve physical health. Save money or spend less money. Improve mental health or reduce stress. Spend more time with family and friends or improve relationships. Get organized or be more productive. Learn a new skill or hobby. Quit unhealthy habits like smoking, excess alcohol, or too much social media. Travel more or live life to the fullest. So they all sound good.
Most of them are very non-specific. They're very general.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. Very good.
How do you know that you've met your?
Yeah.
What do they call it? A wandering generality?
Yeah. Right. Exactly. That I one that I really get a kick out is to save more money or spend less money. And but and I know without a plan that don't happen. I know you've taken your finances by the horns, right? And and that is very admirable, and it's one thing that most people will not discipline themselves to do.
Because it's hard work.
Yes, it is, and it's facing
It's
reality
not
every
it's
day.
not fun to have to maybe deny myself some things, you know?
Right,
Um,
right.
we're very as a you know, society at this point is very number one, they want immediate results, which,
Mhm. Yeah,
you know, you have to work
yeah,
hard and put time into the good things, you
right.
know.
Yeah, it's our
Um,
microwave mentality.
yeah. And if you think about it, you don't really revere or honor things that come to you easily.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
it's not the actual result as much as what we have to do to get that result and who we become by doing it.
Yeah. Mhm. So, we can give you a lot of different clues if you are interested in how to set up some uh, good targets or good goals for 2026. Reach out to us. I'll drop our email address in the comments. But think about what it is you want to do. I know one thing that comes up pretty frequently is, well, I really would like to read more. Okay, so what does that look like? What does reading more or self improvement, right? What does that look like? Well, if you read 20 or 30 pages a day, you're going to finish about 20 to 25 books a year. That's not that much. The average person can do that 30 pages in about 15, 20 minutes a day. Yeah, unless you're reading an anatomy book or a textbook or something like that.
Right. Something that's going to snooze you
Yeah,
real
yeah,
fast.
yep, yep. But if you want to uh, actually begin to get the creative juices flowing, get your mind sharper, and things like that, reading is a great way to do it. We have become such a society of so I'm bad at this. I listen to a lot of my books, and by doing so, uh, I I do it when I drive a lot, which is not the reason I got this last speeding ticket, which is my first ticket in 22 or 23 years. I wasn't listening to anything, and probably if I had been, I would have been paying more attention to the speed. Anyway, that's beside the point, right? Anyway, and the cop was right. I was speeding, so. Um, but I find now that by sitting down and actually picking up the book, and I might listen to it and read it at the same time, it's really I get more out of it by actually reading it, and it makes
Me
my mind
too.
work.
And I'm old fashioned. I like to actually have a book.
Yep. Yeah.
We spend so much time on our electronics, and
Yeah.
if we're not careful, like for a while, I would get double vision from being
Mhm.
on my electronics so much. And so I
Yeah.
always make sure that, if I'm spending the day on the computer, I've got my blue light
Yeah. Right.
filtering glasses so that I
Yeah.
don't get that. But
Yeah.
we're on our computers, we're on our phones, we're watching TV, we're all of that overstimulates
Yeah.
the optic
Yeah.
nerve. And
Yeah.
they also tell you not to be watching TV when you go to bed. You know,
Yeah.
when you think about it, most bedrooms we have some kind of device that
Mhm.
gives off light. Now, because of my surgeries, I do have a night light in my bathroom, but then um, I use my phone for my alarm clock. But I turn the screen off. I don't have that on all night. I don't
Right.
need that light. But we have digital clocks. We have this. We have that, and sometimes even just the electronics, even though they're off, they've got the power light that glows all night long.
Right.
And it's disruptive. We don't sleep as good as we used to.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I have to give my wife credit. She's moved everything away from her side of the bed. Um, and I can blame this on whatever I want, but I've when mom and dad were sick and there's a lot going on, I got in that bad habit of having my cell phone right next to the bed.
Mhm.
And so, um, but there was a point in time where they were, several time zone differences and things like that. So you didn't want
You
to,
know, for gosh, since I pretty much had a cell phone on my person
yeah,
since 2002, I think,
yeah,
when Jeff had his first stroke. And, back then I used to leave the cell phone in the car and I didn't turn it on unless I needed to make a call. And he had his stroke and they had a hard time finding me because I was out at lunch.
yeah,
And so that's been 20 plus years that I've been walking around, and I literally, you know, that I had health issues and Jeff had more health issues. And then our parents were getting older and
yeah,
we just felt like we needed to be reachable. Now my phone's on vibrate. So
mm,
I never have the ringer on.
yeah,
Now, when dad was sicker and then my mom was sicker, I turned the ringer on, because otherwise I wouldn't wake up if somebody was trying
right,
to reach me during the middle of the night. But, and it's funny, we can make those changes without batting an eye, right?
right,
Because we know it's something that we need to do, or we're making that choice because it's an absolute.
mhm,
So that's how we should approach our goals and our resolutions
right, right,
is, what are you willing to make an absolute? I mean, what are
yeah,
you really willing to put the effort into?
right, right, yeah,
And it's
yeah.
not going to be an immediate thing. It never should.
No,
You
no,
know,
no, not at all. Yeah,
um, anything worth having or doing is worth the work to get there.
yeah, yeah. That's
And I
right.
think, and I think that's why our society, even not just the younger kids, but even some in my age group that have just gotten used to that instant gratification.
Yeah,
It's kind of like, but then you're always looking for the next thing, and you never actually enjoy. You don't
yeah,
celebrate. You're not celebrating your win.
right,
You're not acknowledging what you and the people around you have done to get there. Because in most cases, no matter what we're doing, we don't do it alone,
right,
right?
right. Exactly. Yeah, and I've
And
got, I used to say, well, I don't really need the cell phone, and I could leave it and whatever. But then when I'm down at the port, I got to have it in my hand the whole time because I would say yesterday in the WhatsApp group there was probably pushing 200 messages.
wow,
But it's because you've got, for those who have never been on a cruise, going into a cruise terminal, you don't know what it looks like, but you have two or three things going on all at once. And when in my position, I have to be on top of all of that, and it's a challenge to me. And I love it. It's stuff I've always done, and so to know what's going on at the front door as opposed to what's going on up where they're boarding, as opposed to what's going on the ship, and any paperwork. There's a ton of paperwork, by the way, for the government when it comes to cruises and all that kind of stuff. So to be able to stay on top of it, we all of us who are in any type of leadership role carry our cell phones,
yeah,
and so and I had pretty much gotten the habit of sitting it and not worrying about it. If I was expecting a phone call, I'd put an earbud in so that I could hear it ring. Well, now I got to carry this stupid thing.
well,
So
and think about it. We used to do that with walkie talkies. We used to do that with
yeah,
pagers. There were some lines of work where you needed to have that
yeah, right,
immediate access. And I think the rest of us just kind of jumped on board and said, "Isn't this cool?" And
yeah,
now it's such an effort to release that
hmm
and
hmm
to really, step down, step
step down
away.
from it. Yeah,
And
yeah,
one of the nice things about cruises is, you can stay connected. You can
yep,
buy the Wi-Fi package, but to me, the idea of being on a cruise
There's
You're trying to
disconnecting.
get away, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Trying to get away.
Yep. So Linda, one of the things we talked about prior to getting on is talking about focusing on some of our local businesses. Now, you're at your son's right now at Randy's place with the holidays and everything else, and that's Omaha, correct?
Correct.
And but you live in Denver, in the Denver area. I live in the Tampa area. And so what we're going to do here going forward in 2026, number one, we're going to focus on some local businesses, highlight them, tell you what we like about them. And then if you are in business in either the Denver area or the Tampa area and would like to come on the show to talk about what it is you do, why people should uh, patronize your business, we're more than welcome to have you on. You have to reach out to us, but the email address is in the comments. It's balancingact2024@gmail.com, and reach out to us and we will definitely get back to you and get you on the schedule. We're pretty flexible with our schedule. We do come on once a week, but we're a little bit early this week because Christmas is 2 days away.
That's right. So, and one of the things when we started this program was we wanted to highlight people doing good things.
Yes.
So, whether that's in your business, maybe you have something else that you do that might be of interest to us. We would love to have you on here about what it is you're doing and why, and spread the word.
Yeah. Yep. So reach out to us, balancingact2024@gmail.com. A lot of you have, I can think of a couple businesses locally, and their why and it's not necessarily about their particular business, even though their business is successful. Now, there's always an underlying um, connection to that,
Right.
but I know one guy in the business that he's in, he keeps opening new business that have nothing to do with his primary business, but he does that. It's crazy. He treats his employees very well, and he realizes that minimum wage jobs don't always cut it.
Right.
And he's trying to provide enough employment as he can, as much as he can afford to do. And I really like that about him. And but if you knew what his primary business was, you would say, well, that's a limited audience. Well, that is, but this business over here isn't. So it's really interesting.
And that's one of the reasons why we should aspire to earn more, not just to make our lives better, but to help others improve their lives. And being out here in Nebraska, small town of Lexington it's a meatpacking plant that's been there for 30 years, and they decided to close the doors at the end of the year. And that's 3,200 jobs in a town of 11,000 people. That town is going to...
That's a chunk.
That's a chunk, and it's not just the food processing plant. It's going to affect every other business and dwelling in that city. And, the hospital's they may not be able to keep the hospital open. They may not be able to keep the schools and the teachers open. And, what are these people going to do?
Yeah.
And I think, this is where I sit back and count my blessings. Because whatever struggles I may be having, that's not one of them.
Right.
But, this is the time of year, and should be going on all year long, where we count our blessings and then reach out. So one of the things I'm going to be looking for is ways to maybe, I don't know what those people are going to do. Some will have, people will have to move, go look for jobs elsewhere.
Right,
It's hard to say if that small town's going to be able to stay on its feet,
right, right.
and that affects so much when things like that happen.
Yeah, yeah. Everything around it. Most people don't think about all of this. You have a big employer, and you said what, like 3,200 people in a town of 11,000. But the support side of
Yeah,
that is probably double the number of employees. So you could
yeah,
look at half or three quarters of the town unemployed.
right, right.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
the way we found out about it is the new HR person for that plant. He's been there about a year and a half,
hmm,
and when the when he got the news that he was going to have to tell all his people this, he was like, "This isn't right."
yeah,
And we just have to remember that everything has a ripple,
yeah, yeah,
and not all ripples are good.
yeah.
So we
That's
need to
right.
be very intentional about the things that we do and the way we do them. And right now they're hoping that they don't strip the plant of all of its equipment so that somebody else can just move in and start
Yeah, yeah.
using
Some of
it
the
for
process
something
equipment.
similar.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
So
the thing with that is too. A lot of these big companies, they have proprietary equipment and processes. So if in fact that's the situation, then they will take it. And now you got an empty building or a useless building.
yeah, and no money or resources to do anything with it. So
Right, right. So
so um, that is one of my goals coming up is to be more intentional about everything that I do to make sure that it is having the best effect it can have. And I think we need to, I know I need to be more focused on how I interact.
yep,
And
yep, yeah,
because we don't live in a vacuum, and even though we think the choices, may be just for us alone, they do affect other people. So we really do need to be very intentional and be very aware. And I
yes,
know that's something I'm going to be focusing on next year. I mean, I'm working on it now, but that's just going to continue
yeah, yeah.
because
So Linda, you have a new session of your program starting the 1st of January, don't you? Or the first few weeks of
yeah,
January?
it's I want to say January 12th.
Okay,
Um and it's the support equation, and basically what the program's about is teaching you how to be supportive to people around you without
okay,
carrying their burden. So if you live in a place where you're seeing people get laid off or they're losing their jobs, there's ways you can support them without you carrying their load.
right, right.
And just as a tip, one of the most important things you can do is just give them an ear. Don't Most of the time they just need someone to listen to them. They don't
Mhm,
necessarily need you to give them a solution unless that's the kind of work you do.
right,
But just just let them vent. Let them know that somebody sees them, hears them, and recognizes their humanity and their humanness.
yeah,
Because when things like that happen, that's you feel like you're just a number,
yep,
not a person.
yeah,
And
yes,
so
exactly.
my program gives you a variety of ways and tools to use to help recognize people as people without saying, okay, let me fix that for you, or let me do that for you, or let me carry that for you. We all have our own stuff.
Yeah,
And for the most part, they don't need to be fixed. They just need to be acknowledged and then helped in the right direction.
yeah.
But us taking on the burden of someone else's life is
Yeah,
not
that's
going to
not
help.
good.
Doesn't help
Yeah.
anybody, including yourself. So
So if you're interested in that program, the QR code up in the corner of your screen, if you take a shot of that, it will take you right to that program.
Yep.
Sign up. Linda will reach out and she'll let you know the details and everything. And I think it's very worthwhile, and you should really consider looking at it. And what was the name of the program again, Linda?
It's called the support equation.
Yep. Yep.
And so, it's a pretty reasonable offer.
Mhm.
And I just think, it's something that I've learned from what I've gone through, what I watched other people go through, and I've just kind of taken all of the things that people have done with and for me and
Yeah.
mixed it with the tools of EQ and DISC and all
Yeah.
of those good tools, and
Yeah.
we roll. We make sure
Yeah.
that we're taking care of others and taking care of ourselves along the way.
Yeah. So once again, take a picture of that QR code, jump on there, and it's through a platform called Grow Karma, if I believe, right?
Yes, yes, it is.
And
Amazing platform.
it is an amazing platform. Yep.
And
So,
if you've got things content that you want to teach, that's the platform. So if you want to know how to get a hold of that, contact either one of us.
it's probably the closest all-in-one platform out there.
It pretty, yeah. I haven't seen anything more encompassing. They've been very intentional about how they've done it,
Yes.
and
Yes.
I think we're going to try to have those guys on too,
Yeah.
because
Good.
I would
That'd
love
be
you
great.
guys to meet them.
So we went a little bit long today, but that's us. We can talk for hours. Um, but folks, check out Linda's program. If you have any questions on your targets and your goals and how to achieve them for 2026, reach out to us at balancingact2024@gmail.com. We'll be happy to respond and help you through and to set realistic targets, set realistic goals, and then what steps do you need to take to meet those goals and targets for 2026.
Right,
Linda, it's
because
been
you have
fun
to do.
today.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I said it's been fun today.
It has. Whatever holiday you are celebrating over the next couple of weeks, enjoy. Do it safely.
Yeah.
That's what I love about this time of year. There's something like 9
Yes.
holidays.
Yeah, there is. There's a ton of them. We should talk about that after the first of the year because I have, I think, 5 in January and 1 in February.
Oh, wow. Fun.
Yeah, that's what happens when you have Ukrainian family. So,
There you go. Well, be blessed,
anyway,
everybody. Enjoy this
yep,
time of year and the fruits of your labors. And if you need anything, you know where to find us.
yes. We'll see you next week. Take care.
Alrighty.